Hey, this is Pam Perry. So, we are live here with the Speakers Magazine show with two powerhouse women, women of wealth or women of abundance, women of overflow, women that can talk about money and they know about it. The Speakers Magazine this month, the theme is green, talking about really manifesting money. And I have with her also another young lady, Ciemone Sheppard. So let me just give you a little bit about Monique. Monique wrote a book a while ago called Embrace Your Inner Millionaire. And she's known as the overflow coach, and she helps women fix their relationship with money so they can stop worrying about it, stressing over it, chasing after it, and finally start manifesting more of it. Ciemone, that word you use, right? She helped hundreds of women develop a foundation for lasting wealth through her step-by-step coaching programs and workshops. Now, Ciemone, on the other hand, is they have met for the first time today. She really cares about a financial legacy. She's devoted her career. She's a part of the $1 Million Roundtable to ensuring that people and their businesses have all the tools and the strong financial foundation for the future. She specializes in providing her clients with tools to create financial education, wealth strategies, intergenerational legacy, and all of that. She says, while knowledge is power, financial knowledge is freedom. She likes the word freedom, Monique. And her clients have been empowered to understand the secrets of financial success. So, right after this, we're going to bring both of these beautiful ladies up. Okay. All righty. So, we will see you shortly. All right. Oh my God. I am so excited. This is going to be such a good show. First of all, thank you, Monique. Thank you, Ciemone, for taking time out today to really join us on the show, talk about money. I want to dig a little bit into your background, but just really give women some real concrete tips of what you go about speaking about is part of your career. But obviously you speak, that's why you're in Speakers Magazine show, but you speak about this as well. And so I'm so excited because money, mindset, manifesting, abundance, overflow. I didn't really talk a little bit about Ciemone. One of the things that just how I got on her radar is that I was Googling some things, Ciemone, and I saw that you are part of the Women's Presence Organization and also about women elevating women. And so that was really resonated with me because that's what Monique is about. That's what Sisternomics is about. And so typically, and this is the first time ever, Monique, that I've ever had a guest with you when you're on the cover, but I felt it was so aligned. I mean, it was like so aligned. And when you said yes, Ciemone, I said, this is divine. So Monique had to move some things around. She was like, okay, but it's so divine. So let's start with Ciemone, and then Monique, we're going to get into your story as well. So Ciemone, give us a little bit of your
Definitely. Thank you, Pam, for your energy. It is amazing to start the afternoon with this great conversation. Yes, I'm definitely a part of a lot of fantastic women's group. My favorite is definitely the Bow Collective as well, Black Owners Women Collective. We make up of 1% of the nation's top women, African-American women in business. So I got to give a little plug to that organization. But I really did start my journey early in financial services. My father is the head accountant for 40 years. So I would say at 13, I had a bank account. I had a great relationship with money. And I really think that's the start. I learned so much from my clients on what they learned about money early on. So I do challenge women and those in general to look back at how did my parents operate with money? You can really get to the root. It's almost like a therapy session sometimes. Like, what did they teach you? What did you learn? what is your emotional attachment to money? And I think that should be the foundation, the start of the conversation. That's why I wanted to kind of lead in with that. To think about those things, like, are you emotional spender, right? When you get sad, is it like I'm compensating through purchasing something to make me feel a void? So I oftentimes feel that, especially with women, that it's food, it's buying things to comfort us, overspending, so really go deep into the psyche, if you will, and understanding, your personal relationship with money. How do you feel about talking about money? Some people it's uncomfortable, the conversations. Understand why it's uncomfortable. So I definitely feel that it is more than just, I want to grow wealth, I want to be wealthy. It's first understand what your relationship with money is, before you begin this journey.
I love that. I love that. So, Monique, I'm gonna pull you over here to the side here. Okay, you look at my producing skills over here. So I say that because Monique's background was in media. She's a TV host, and she was top of her game doing the radio show for many years in Chicago, which is a major market. It wasn't like a little back road city. It was a major city, and she was on, and she had a booming career. So, Monique, give us a little bit, because Ciemone talked about her relationship with money.
Yeah.
So give us a backstory about how you came into be the OverFlow coach and your relationship with money coming out of the media.
First of all, Pam, can I just say thank you for putting Ciemone and I together, because this is incredible. The several things that you said, Ciemone, made my heart, my spirit leap, because your story, while we have a lot of similarities, I'm sure, as we'll find out as we get to know each other, there was one major difference that I already know between the two of us, and that is that you were fortunate to have parents who helped you establish a healthy relationship with money, and you understood money at an early age. And while my parents are amazing human beings, thank God for them and everything that they did for me, the relationship that I established with money was not so great. And that's okay. It's not a bad thing, because whatever our relationship with money is, it is what it is. And it represents an opportunity for us to learn different things, different habits, different beliefs, different behaviors. And so, in our home, my parents were hardworking. They worked 2 and 3 jobs to make ends meet. And the thing that I sensed around money when I was growing up was a lot of tension. There was a lot of stress around money. And so that's why it's so important that we as women really begin to unpack what are our feelings, thoughts, and beliefs about money. Because if we don't unpack that, then we're not prepared to go and see a Ciemone and build the legacy of generational wealth that every single one of our families deserve, right? So we have to have the tools and the awareness to be able to unpack our thoughts, feelings, and emotions about money, because oftentimes that 7-year-old girl that may have seen parents disagree or argue about money, or talk about the fact that, we got to rob Peter to pay Paul, or that 7-year-old girl who was listening in on those conversations where she was listening to parents discuss how they were going to pay the bills and make ends meet. If we don't unpack our feelings, thoughts, and emotions about money, Pam, then that 7-year-old girl is still running the money show as we age into our 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. And so it's important to connect with a person like Ciemone or a person like myself who can help you really get to the root of what is your relationship with money. When the word money comes up, Pam, what are the thoughts, ideas, and emotions that are invoked in you, right? And what are some of your habits? If you take a look at your habits and your experience with money right now, where does that all come from? Well, like Ciemone said, you got to understand what that relationship is and where it came from in order to understand that, improve it, and make it better.
Well, one of the things, this is a very truthful moment for me. Both of you guys are in my life for a reason. And money was something that money mindset was something that I struggled with, Ciemone. Again, I had hardworking parents. My mother was a stay-at-home mom. My dad was a mailman, and they were hard worker. And really a lot of the things that we had, growing up, I did not know we were lower middle class, right? I just thought we were rich, whatever I wanted for Christmas, I got. That was the thing. But I remember having uh, a thing in college, and this is something maybe, Ciemone, you could kind of remember, or what they did for people in college, is that they would give you credit cards. And they would give you credit cards because they know you're coming out of college and you're going to have a job and you're going to get these credit cards. Well, I felt like my parents never really used credit cards. I was like, oh, and I'm getting these credit cards. When I tell you, I felt like I hit the lottery. Like, I think one of my first cards was like Discover, and then I got this, and then it became, this is true, a game for me. How many can I get? And that traveled to when I got to the point where I got a job. I got a good job when I got out of college. I made more than my father, actually. And so I still was applying for credit cards like it was a game. I never had a conversation about interest rates. I never had any. And so at one point in time, I had probably about 50 credit cards that had stuff on them. I had
Whoa.
a card like a Marshall Fields card. I'm dating myself, right? Where I would go in there and buy cookies just to flash the card. How
Wow.
crazy is that?
Yeah.
That was just how crazy it became, my money story, because it was like all this. And I remember I was dating my husband one time, and we're married now about 25 years. And I think while we were dating, he saw all my credit cards and he was like, whoa. It was almost a deal buster for him. He was like, what is up with this woman here with all these credit cards? It was like, and I just
Wow.
felt like, long as I can make the minimum payment, I'm good.
I'm just thinking about those interest rates.
I'm telling you, right?
Tell us about the interest rates.
Yeah, those interest rates, and that keeps you like a slave. And I think there's just two ways you can think about money. Really, it's scarcity and then abundance, right? So a lot of times people have that scarcity, so they become hoarders of money, right? I'm the advanced savers, I call them. They save, and they don't enjoy their money. Or you'll have
Yes.
the abundance and just thinking money's gonna forever be flowing. You kind of have to be somewhere in the middle, right, of both of those ideal. But it is definitely a journey. It takes baby steps. You don't want to leap till the end, but it's delayed gratification. That's what I try to teach my clients, is really, if you can put off a purchase, even they say wait 30 days before you actually buy it. A lot of times you forget to even want to purchase that item. But I do know there's a lot of predatory, especially with the college, like you fell right in the hands of a credit card. Those companies, they really do prey on those who pay those minimum interest rates, because you'll be paying it forever, right? And then they're winning. So if you can't, the goal, don't use more than 50% of your line of credit. If 30%, if possible, and really pay your balance at the end of each month and be consistent with that, for sure.
See, with your dad being an accountant, he taught you those principles really early, right? Those are some of the things that you had, and then you went into the finance. So what tell people exactly, Ciemone, what it is that you do, because you obviously you do finance things, but tell us about your company.
I like to call myself a wealth preserver. There's finance, but then there's also preserving your wealth, and through estate planning strategies. I think that's so important, because you see Michael Jackson, Aretha Franklin, their assets in probate. There was nobody who can help.
Prince as well.
Right. So I work with my team, and we really do strategic planning, estate planning, and really preserve your wealth.
Okay. All right. As I'm saying hello over here to Charvette Mitchell. Stacia Crawford says she got her first American Express in college. It was disastrous because she didn't have a good money foundation. I see Cheryl Moses here as well. She said hello to you guys as well. It's just one of those things that I really want people to understand about money. This particular book, I got this years ago, and it really did. I want to say, Monique, it really did change my life. And I felt
Wow.
that once I read it, that I wasn't the only one. So anyone who feels shame around money,
Yeah.
because they make it, but for whatever reason, it's not manifesting enough around you that you're always worried about it. So
Yeah.
what was a catalyst that made you really dive deep into your money story? What was it?
Yeah. Such a great question, Pam. The thing that made me really want to study money was that I was, as you mentioned earlier, I was in a very high visibility career. I was a broadcaster on radio and TV. And I love my job. I love creating content. I was a content creator before that was like a cool word, influencer before that was a thing back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Absolutely loved my job. Thank you, Stacia. And I would have done it for free. Like that's how you know when you in your purpose, right? You doing your work, and you like if they don't pay me, I'm okay with that too. But what I noticed is that as I started to advance in that career, my colleagues in the media, and Stacia knows about this, girl, they were like booking like those 7-figure contracts. And, here I was a producer, I was a host, I was a booker, I was doing all the things.
Mhm.
And I was doing a talk show. So I didn't read from a teleprompter. I didn't have the luxury of a teleprompter. I had to come off the dome every single day for a live 3-hour show. So I was a baddie, if I do say so myself.
Yeah.
But the thing was, while my colleagues who were news readers, and I love them all, I mean, I have so much respect for many of them, they were getting 7-figure contracts. And I was like, well, wow, I'm barely making like $35,000-$40,000 on this job. And at first I thought, well, maybe I'm just not at the right station, or maybe I'm just not from the right pedigree. I'm just a little Black girl from the South side of Chicago. So maybe if I change my environment, that'll change my income. But what I discovered later, Pam, is that it had nothing to do with those external things. The reason why I was not making what I felt I was worth was because of the mindset. And it goes back to what Ciemone was talking about earlier. I didn't understand that I did not have a healthy, good, solid relationship or understanding of money. And so what I did was I started a side hustle because I did want to supplement my income. I was a new mom at that point. I started a side hustle. My side hustle started to make a lot of money very quickly. But in the midst of that, I began to talk to other women and recognize that so many women who were young, ambitious in their careers, they were having the same struggles, hardworking, but just weren't making the amount of money that they felt they deserved. And so I started to hear that a lot. So that led me into studying money, Ciemone, and really this desire to really understand, to get to know what I didn't know. And that's when I discovered the money story, that our money story, that story that we tell ourselves about money, is what can create those invisible ceilings or plateaus, if you will. And so as I began to change my money story, Pam, as I began to get coaching, as I began to talk to other women who were wealthy and just discover things, it began to turn around.
Wow.
And that made me want to go into this work and help women and write books and become a coach and all those things.
Oh my God. That is so good. That is so good. One of the things that when you do have a right relationship with money, you will not be afraid to walk into like the office of Ciemone Sheppard and say, hey, I'd like to talk about estate planning. I'd like to talk about insurance. I'd like to talk about, there's other things that will prevent us from talking about it. And I'm trying to teach my daughter is 26. And I said, you need to invest in the things that you buy. If you buy Nike, you need to buy Nike stock. If you buy this, you need to buy such and such. And she's like, I don't have enough money to invest.
Oh.
And so I'm like, I need them to understand. So Ciemone, I know your passion point is women and also young women as well. Explain to me what you would say to people who say, I can't, or I'm not ready for that, or I don't have enough to go to see anybody about estate planning. Those are the things that probably hold us up. for keeping
Oh,
legacy.
absolutely. I think it's just, we chase money so often, and it's like a butterfly, right? It will come when we just sit still and allow this information to fall upon us, especially the younger generation. They definitely need this information a lot sooner because that time horizon, right? They have so much time to do great things with their investments. But for me personally, it's that back to education, empowering. Typically, a lot of my clients come to me through referrals. I think that that's important, that those warm introductions, or people who've had good experiences, maybe to share. If a friend of your daughter's might have a faster way of getting to her than someone on the outside who is doing well, kind of like how Monique shared. She started hanging out with wealthy people, sharing best practices. The 5 people you spend the most time with, those are your reference groups, right? So if all your friends, I would tell your daughter, who are your friends? I always teach that to my girls. Like the 5 people you spend the most time with, those are the people who you will become. Like if they're not making money, if they're lacking, you'll be right along with them, right? So I would personally not really force the issue, but encourage her to find people in her circle who might have a little bit more knowledge, if that makes sense. Seek your peers or reading, send her nice books to read on it that she can maybe relate. And I can definitely send some ideas on that too, right? Because it has to be everyone's own personal time. I've had so many people just not ready. So it's only when that person is ready can they really make that change. So
That's true.
Nothing you can say, nothing I can say. It has to be up to that person to feel ready to make better decisions with their money.
Why is money so emotional? It's very emotional. It's one of those things where we don't talk about those things, quote unquote, at the table, right? At least in Black families. Anyway, it's just kind of like we don't talk about those things at the table. I remember. Let me tell you this. This is again another shocking thing for me. I had an uncle that recently passed a couple of years ago, and he was a mailman as well, like my dad. And you talk about the millionaire next door. Well, he was actually a millionaire when he died. He had investments and that sort of thing, but he lived like a pauper. When we went over his house when he actually died, he did not even have heat because he didn't want to spend the money to get it fixed. Now we're in Detroit.
Wow.
He didn't spend a dime on clothes. He never married. He lived in the basement of the house where he grew up in. And I mean, when I tell you that it's like you were talking about, Ciemone, where you said people hoard money. He hoarded it, but he died at 82, 83 years old and never went on a vacation.
I think
Never enjoyed any of it.
It's scarcity because people feel like it could run out, right? So it's like it's back to that mindset. You really have to understand your relationship as you grew up. It might be a traumatic story behind why he is that way that you'll never know. But usually it's deep rooted on why people have different relationships with money.
Absolutely.
So I think therapy is always a good thing, to bring some of those things out for people out there, talking about, why you're a certain way in relationships. And it's the same kind of conversation. Why do I have this? The money is a relationship. You have to have a relationship with it. Why do I have this relationship with money? And try to figure that out. And it goes back to earlier. What did you learn? What was your first encounter when, you said, my parents, it was always tension around money. I think that is a lifelong problem that you probably unconsciously have affected you in your money decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with that, Pam. Can I add something to that? That was brilliant. I think that, to answer your question about why we're so emotional about money, yes, I agree with Ciemone. It's because of that scarcity mindset. It all starts with the mindset. Everything starts with the mindset, right? Scarcity mindset will repel money. And because of our history in this country, in this world, money has always been a source of pain because for many, many years, it was so hard for us to come by, as you said, especially for African Americans. And so we come from that space. But what I've discovered just in my years of coaching and receiving coaching around money and on this constant journey of taking my money story to the next level is that money, there's no shortage of money in this world, right? Money is flowing freely in this world, but it's flowing freely to 4 specific types of people. And I'd love to, can I share who money is
Yes,
flowing
yes.
to?
We put it in the magazine, but I love that because that is so true. I even put the video there as well. So let's
Yeah.
talk about the 4 types of people, where it
So
flows.
it's really important to know that money flows freely to people who are not afraid of it, to people who respect it, to people who understand it, and to people who are generous with it. I'll go
Yes,
over that again.
yes.
Money flows
Generosity is
freely.
so key. Yes.
So key. And that gets to our spiritual principles that, we may or might not have time to talk about, but generosity is key. So people who understand it, people, again, must understand that, first of all, it is important for us all to have safe spaces where we can talk about money. That's why we're talking about it here. That's why I have the Sisternomics podcast. That's why Ciemone and I do the work that we do, because we enjoy creating these spaces so that we can help people cultivate an understanding of money, how it works, why you shouldn't hoard, why when you save a certain amount, then it's time to invest. So when you have a better understanding of money, then you can relax a little bit about it, right? And so understanding is key. And then also when you respect it, this goes back to one of the fundamentals that I've been teaching people about money for years. You respect money. One of the ways that you respect money is making sure that it doesn't have to try to thrive in a chaotic environment like your purse or your wallet. If you look at your purse right now, is your purse organized or is it a hot mess? Let's be honest about it. Is your wallet full of old receipts and old candy wrappers and old papers and whatnot, things that are expired? You want to make sure that you're respecting your money by making sure it's not all balled up in your purse and wallet. Organize it in denominational order. Make sure that if you do still carry cash, that it is in an orderly position in your wallet and your purse ain't full of junk. Let's just be honest, ladies. Okay, so that's how you respect it. One of the ways that you respect it.
Respect is also knowing how much you have as well.
Oh, baby, listen, you got to know your numbers.
You got to know your numbers.
Know your number.
Got to know your numbers. And you ask them, well, how much money you got? Oh, I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? You don't know how much is in your purse? Like, really? So anybody, you can set your purse down. Somebody could take $20 out your purse and you wouldn't even know the difference.
You would never know. So you're right. Knowing your numbers is an example of how you respect your money. And then not being afraid of it. This is something that I still encounter today occasionally when I'm first starting out working with a woman. And I'll ask her what her money goal is. And she may say, oh, somewhere around, I don't know. It's like this real discomfort, the body language changes and everything. And they'll stop short of a really big, bold number. And that's because there's still some fear. There's still some curiosity about, am I really worthy of that? And I know this because that was me. Right. So we can't be afraid to say, my goal this year is to make $3.5 million in revenue in my business. Or if that's not your number, my goal is to make 300,000. Or if that's not your number, whatever it is, but just making sure it puts you in a little bit of a space of discomfort when you say that number, because breakthroughs cannot happen in a comfort zone. So we have to be fearless enough to say those large numbers and know that we may not be comfortable with it right now, but we can still move toward that anyway. And lastly, the generosity piece is key, because I'm a spiritual person. I believe in tithing. And I've long taught that in order for us to have a breakthrough, we have to tithe, we have to sow, and we have to save.
Sow to grow.
And there's a biblical principle. There's a spiritual mandate, if you will, around tithing. And it is still relevant in the New Testament. Jesus said it. If you want to go there, we can have that conversation offline. But I'm just saying, tithing, sowing, saving. If tithing isn't your thing, just being generous. That is a spiritual law, and it works regardless of who you are.
And then, even, when you talk about tithing and being generous, when the government gives you a tax break because you give to charity, you can even see that is encouraged and why that is, right? It's like, where did that come from? It's like, okay, well, if you give to the Salvation Army, whatever, you're going to get a break. And it's really that in the natural, but it's also that in the spiritual. So everything has a spiritual relationship with that, and that's so key. We're like at 29:47. Uh, so I want to respect you ladies' times. Last words, Ciemone Sheppard, and then also to want you to tell people how they can get in touch with you. I know obviously on LinkedIn, that's where a lot of us are watching from right now, but I think you have your name.com, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, CiemoneSheppard.com, and I'm also on LinkedIn as well. And just remember, it's just a journey. Just think about it day by day. Don't look at the final destination. Just take it step by step. And the first step is understanding your past so that you can move forward.
I love that. That is so true. That is so true. And Monique Caradine Kitchens, cover of Speakers Magazine, will be also having another interview with BSN, Black Speakers Network, on Saturday at noon. So you actually can tune in with us there as well. But are there any last words that you would like to share with those who have tuned in? I said, Pamela Ewing said, she said, so glad that she tuned in and that she stumbled in on the show, and basically is really informative discussion. So we discuss money openly. I both of these ladies love talking about it. They know it, and that's why I brought them. And Rosaline Gordon as well. She's a money person as well. She's in finance. She says people relate money to their personal worth. They avoid discussing it to avoid embarrassment and pain. It's that emotional thing. The truth is that the more it's discussed and practice, the better we will be with money. And Rosalie knows because she's a finance person. So that she's saying it from the standpoint from the natural, but also from the emotional, that she knows that as well. So Monique.
The only thing I would say is that if you're listening to us right now, whether it's live or on the replay, my belief is that we all deserve to have more than enough money to do whatever it is we need to do. I personally know I've had 7 figures and beyond, and I've had nothing. And I know for a fact that money, even when I had 7 figures, didn't make me happy, but it is a great tool to have. And so understand, that money is a tool, and we deserve to live in overflow, because I feel like our children and the generations that come beyond them, they deserve to have an advantage and not have to struggle. And if nothing else, we deserve to live in that overflow so that we can live lavishly from the saucer and then give generously from the cup and make sure our kids don't have to struggle.
I love that. Thank you guys. Oh, that was wonderful. That was wonderful. So I thank you all for joining us today on Speakers Magazine. Monique's story is in the magazine, speakersmagazine.com. She has books as well. Ciemone Sheppard, you need more information, again, CiemoneSheppard.com. Spelling is right there, and they'll be in the show notes as well when we have it on the site as well. But it's all on the podcast, YouTube, LinkedIn. We try to put it as many places as possible because we know that everybody needs to hear this information. And if you want to have a more deeper conversation with any of the ladies, please feel free to direct message them, go on their website, send them a message, because it's too important to just stay silent about something that, like Monique said, that we should live in overflow. One of the things that Ciemone talks about is abundance. So with that, ladies, thank you all so much for joining us today for Speakers Magazine.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
I'm Pam Perry, and I am out.